Hi guys, today I'm working on a Minecraft creeper quilt block. I'm working with 3-inch squares for this project and I've got 20 pieces of the black fabric. I'll be using those for the eyes and mouth. And then I have a whole lot of green squares of different colors that I'll be using for the rest of the creeper. I started by laying out the pieces. Okay, it looks pretty good, but I didn't give myself enough space to add more rows. So I'm just gonna move this pattern around a bit and add some rows, and then I'm gonna start sewing. I went ahead and added a third row at the top and the bottom, and I can barely get it to fit on my table. So I overlapped the bottom row. But now I have 3 rows at the top and 3 at the bottom and 2 on the sides of the background fabric. I think it looks much better. So I'm gonna get started sewing. I started by sewing the fabrics together in pairs, and I'm working with rows, so I'm doing 1 row at a time. But I went ahead and prepared a bunch of these pairs because then it makes the assembly much faster. Once all the rows were done, I laid out the pieces once more to make sure that I didn't mess up in any way, and then I went ahead and started sewing the rows together. I'm sewing them in pairs because I find smaller pieces are much more manageable. And paired up the rows and sewed them all using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. The type of fabric you use makes the biggest difference. This fabric was pretty stiff, so my seams were pretty good. I made sure to match up the seams as I went along, and I had hardly any trouble doing so because the fabric didn't shrink or stretch in any way, and my 1/4 inch seams were pretty perfect, so this block came together really easily. Once the first set of rows were done, I went ahead and pressed the pieces nice and flat and laid them out one more time. Then I placed the rows right sides together, pinned them in the direction that I'd be sewing in, and went ahead and sewed those pieces down using a 1/4 inch seam allowance as well. And now I have 3 sets of 4 rows. I laid out the blocks again one more time, pinned in the direction that I would be sewing in, used a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and here is my final block. I think it's so cool. Thanks for checking out my video. I'll see you in the next one.